I have my paper planner and my husband thinks it's ridiculous because he's like, you have a phone. I'm like, no, I have to have my paper. And I'm like, I'll just brain dump. Like I have like this running brain dump of a list, and some of it's dumb, like buy dishwasher detergent, like just the dumb things that like you would think they're really obvious.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Headed Home podcast. We are your hosts, Jen and Andrew Gallegos, and we are here today with a special guest, Miranda Cantin. She is with LPT Realty. And Miranda, we are so glad that you're joining us today. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
We have something to discuss before we get into real estate related things.
Okay.
I want to know how your cruise was.
It was amazing.
And you don't sound sick. Like you
No, nobody came home sick.
Nice. I was worried about that.
Yeah, I don't know how, because everybody's been sick for, I feel like, the last 6 weeks, but somehow we made it home. Nobody was sick. The weather wasn't as good as we would have liked, but still, it was a week away. It was a week with family. It was perfect. So
was it rainy or just kind of cooler?
It was just kind of cooler, and we definitely felt the ship quite a bit compared to the first time we would gone on a cruise. So a little bit different of an experience, but yeah, a little bit of rain here and there, but not anything to hinder us from going outside or anything like that. But yeah, it just wasn't as warm. So the kids don't want to be in the water a ton and stuff like that, but there's still so much to do. It was perfect.
Do you ever see, I was talking to Andrew about this on because we went to Mexico over break. I feel like our kids don't want to spend a lot of time in the water. It's really interesting to me. In the beach, in the ocean, you mean? Or the ocean, or even in the pool, they'll go for a little bit and then they were kind of just wanted to do other stuff. I don't know. Are your kids kind of like that?
No, they love being in the water.
Yeah,
it's just our kids.
And they used to, they were really hesitant when they were younger. Well, my son was. But yeah, he's really gotten over that. Now they do. They just want to be in the water. But on the beach, they want to look for shells too. So they kind of are, play in the sand and in and out with that. But yeah, at the pool, they just want to swim around and they put on their floaties and just float. I'm like, oh, that's nice.
That does sound amazing. Yeah, our kids don't do that. I don't think they want something. It's not enough for them. I think they just get bored in there,
Yeah.
Fight with each other.
A lot of that.
What was your favorite part of the cruise?
We saw Frozen, the musical, and it was absolutely amazing. I know, it's so weird. I'm not really a musical person, but it was so well done that I was just so impressed. And then, of course, Claire's really into Frozen right now, so that was really cool watching her see it. But yeah, I think that was probably one of my favorite things, which is so strange for me. But yeah, I loved it.
They have such great shows on the cruise. I just feel like those are the best.
Yeah, and it was so well done. And then my husband was looking into it. He's like, well, they're compared to Broadway shows. So he was like, no wonder they were so good. I was like, well, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you, you said you felt the ship a lot during the cruise. Would it wake you up at night? Was it really rocky, or was it just during the day, you felt it more than the last time?
I feel like we could feel it more when we were laying down before we went to sleep, but it never really woke us up per se or anything like that. But you could definitely feel it more when you were, in your room, kind of calm. Sometimes when you were walking, you could feel it, but mostly at night when you were in your room.
Yeah. Did you get seasick at all?
No, my husband did a little bit. But we just give him some Zofran and he's fine. And the kids don't care. They're not even fazed by it at all.
That is a good icky feeling, I feel like.
Yeah. I was wearing one of those patches. Was that a Zofran patch? I don't remember. Or I put it behind my ear. I think it worked, but I don't really remember.
And that helped for me, but it was not enough for my husband.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Glad you guys got a chance to get away.
Yeah, you guys too. Was it a lot of fun?
It was fun. Yeah.
Great. It's I feel like our kids are finally at the age where they still want to hang out with us, but also they can sort of be on their own and everyone's going to survive, so
it's gonna have a conversation with them.
Yeah, you can actually be like, how are you?
Yeah. We had a couple of those.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, I want to get into learning more about you, and we want to introduce you to our audience. And I think a good way to start that is give us some background about you, how you got into the real estate industry, and we'll go from there.
So I got licensed, I think it was 2017, and it was kind of, my mom had, as of like now, she's probably been doing real estate for over 40 years. So back in 2017, I was working as a nurse. So you work full time, you're 3 days a week. So I had 4 days off. So I still helped her in her office. I've done that since I was in high school. I'd file, back when they had paperwork,
Mhm.
paper files, I'd file her paperwork, do all that kind of stuff for her. So I still helped her out in her office and stuff like that. So it was like 2016. I was working as a nurse and I was getting put on call. And plus I had already 4 days off. So she was like, why don't you just get licensed? You can help me on the weekends when I'm gone, when I'm out of town, that kind of thing. So I went ahead and got licensed and kind of thought, oh, it'll just be I'll do it for some friends, some family, whoever just needs my help. And it'll just be kind of a side gig. And then as years have gone on, it's just become more and more of my full-time job. So here we are, almost, well, not quite 10 years later, but 8 years later. And it's my full-time job now. So
Was 2024 your best year in terms of like production and the amount of families that you helped in real estate?
I think as far as transactions, it was my most amount of transactions, but like sales volume, I think it was like my second best year. Kind of weird that like played out that way. But yeah, most amount of transactions was in 2024.
That's awesome.
I want to get into your time as a nurse here in a little bit, but kind of making that transition, what is like one of your favorite things about like working in real estate compared to maybe being a nurse?
I love the flexibility of it, and you get to meet people in nursing, but it's just a different relationship. I feel like you really get to know them a little bit more doing real estate. You spend a lot more time with them and things like that. So I love the flexibility. I love getting to know people. I love having that relationship with people like you, lenders and things like that. It's not something you get to really, you have relationships in nursing, but they're just a little bit different. So it's fun to go out and meet people, build those relationships, and a lot about your community being in real estate, about, kind of what's going on, what's coming into the city, where new houses are going, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of fun to be a part of and know the in of that new neighborhood that's going in, or, things like that. People are always curious. Oh, when did that neighborhood pop up and how much are those houses now and things like that. So I love that part of it. Kind of feel a little bit more into your community.
Yeah. And you're in a community, you're in northern Colorado, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot of new construction. And I mean, you've probably seen, just even since you got in the industry, like you've probably seen a big difference in that community and the markets and the amount of houses that are going up, right?
Oh yeah. It's insane how many houses are being built up here. So, and how many people
we need more of them. Yeah, we need more.
Yeah, I know. Everybody keeps saying we need more houses. We need more houses, but we're gonna run out of space soon, I feel like. But they somehow keep finding it.
Yeah,
That's true.
Well, I'm always curious. I remember, and I mean, we've been working in lending for years now, but I got in 2010. So it's been 15 years, but I remember for like the first few years, there's just a lot of learning. I mean, we're always learning, but like, I feel like there were stumbling blocks and you learn a lot from those. But when you got in, was it, and that's great that you had your mom as a mentor with the amount of experience she had. I'm sure that helped a lot, but was it challenging for you? Like, did you fall flat on your face a few times? What was that like when you got in the industry? And like, how long did it take until you felt like, oh, I can be successful as a real estate agent and I can make this my full-time career?
Yeah. You always have a learning curve. I feel like with any career, you can't just jump in and be perfect or whatever. So definitely you have your mistakes, you have your what went wrong, and sometimes and you can learn from it. And other times, the harder ones are where you don't know what you did wrong and you lost that client or something happened and you just don't know where you fell out. So that's always the hardest part. But yeah, it's definitely just like anything else. It was a learning curve, and having her experience was definitely helpful, especially, transactions. She'd seen it all basically. Nothing surprised her. So that was helpful going with, seeing that if they got through it, well, whatever comes our way, we'll just get through it. So that was helpful, but definitely a learning curve. But it definitely took, I'd say the last 4 years was when I was finally like, oh, okay, I could do this full time. And it just took me a little while to make that jump. But definitely in the last 4 years was when I was like, oh, I have the tools, I have the resources, I can do this and make it and not have to rely on anything else.
And I think that experience too, like once you get a couple years under your belt and you've personally experienced those different situations. I feel like that gives you a level of confidence, and just in the way that you're communicating with your clients and other real estate agents, I'd imagine, that confidence that you build is huge through the experiences that you have.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, you learn how to talk to people, you learn how to make it through bumps and roads, even bigger bumps, and make it to the end.
Well, one of the things we talked about when we got to have coffee or whatever, which I think is, I can just tell like very quickly when I met you. But I think that one of the things that makes you so successful in real estate is your ability to navigate stressful and complex situations while being calm. And I feel like a lot of that likely comes from being a NICU nurse, because I think that there are a lot of things that you dealt with on a daily basis that were frankly like life and death, and like the level of importance around you staying calm and like making good decisions in that job was vital. And so I feel like that probably transferred into how you handle and navigate real estate. But I would love if you could talk a little bit about how that's impacted your work in real estate.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those things that communication is huge
Mm-hmm.
as a nurse, especially a NICU nurse. And so that easy transition to, if it's not, the best news, if the inspection came back really bad or the appraisal, was lower than the sellers would have liked, things like that, telling people that kind of stuff is, the hard stuff is easier to tell people because, like you said, it's not life or death. We'll make it through. The end goal is to have a house, or sell your house, so you can move on. So ultimately we can get there. You just have to be a little bit flexible and know that it's not the end of the world. We'll get there. So communicating, I mean, as a NICU nurse, if you aren't communicating, that baby is the one that misses out. And so you learn that very, very quickly when you go into that field of, you have to talk, you have to ask for help, you work together. So all of those key skills they easily translate into real estate. If you're not working with your lender, if you're not working with the other agent, and you're not communicating with all of those people, nothing's going to get done and nothing's going to move forward. And you're not going to get the best possible outcome for your clients either.
And the referral potential after the fact too, even getting to the finish line is one thing, but then, I think a high level communication also prompts people to refer you because it was such a great experience.
Yeah, if it's easy on them. So yeah, and I've definitely, those situations where people are just panicking, or it's easy to calm them down and say, hey, just take a deep breath. We're going to get through this. This is what we need to do. Or, let's really think about this and move on and things like that. So it's really definitely helped and made real estate a lot easier, I feel like. So, and I hope my clients appreciate that.
Well, I think you come, to your clients with an awareness of like, people are, might have a high level of anxiety around like this process, or they're stressed, or they have a big decision to make. And I think that because you've seen it over the years as a NICU nurse, you recognize that like how important it is for you to stay calm and be able to like exude that like calmness onto them when they need it. I mean, that does happen, right? And
yeah, it's emotional.
Yeah.
It's an emotional process.
People are attached to their homes. They don't want to sell them, and buying a home is exciting, and that's where your family is going to live and you're going to make memories. So there's a lot of emotions attached to it. So sometimes taking those emotions out and being able to help them kind of see through that of, hey, yeah, this is emotional and all of those things. However, it's still a business transaction. Let's focus on that for a minute. And it really helps change their view and calms them down.
Yeah. No, and I think they need that. They need that. Plus the stress of the mortgage too, the financial piece is big.
It's a huge piece of it, especially now. I mean, people with interest rates are even more aware of what they're going to be paying and things like that. So
yeah, it's an interesting market with rates being up. Our business has changed a lot too, just in the way that in our processes with buyers. Years ago, it was just everyone wanted to buy a home, and they still do, but our system was more built around like, hey, let's pre-approve you so that that you can qualify. and the numbers were kind of secondary. It was, I mean, of course they were important, but let's get you approved so you can get out there and start shopping. And then, hey, here's the numbers. And they seemed to be reasonable. Now it's kind of the other way around, where it's, hey, let's start by looking at some preliminary numbers so that you understand, what your payments look like in this market, and maybe talk about some strategies around, rate buy downs and things of that sort. So yeah, it definitely has made an impact for sure. But yeah, having a good professional like you guiding them through and keeping their eyes on the prize is helpful.
I want to shift gears a little bit because, I know that you're a high producing agent. You were navigating being a high producing agent and a nurse and a mom and a wife. And I would love to know just like, what are some tangible things or things that you have done to really manage all of those pieces so that you can feel like you're doing them successfully, and you're present with your family when you're there? I would love to know.
I'm super organized. So I have calendar, mapped out, and I really just try and take each week and just find the time to the tasks that I know I need to do. Okay, where am I going to fit those in first? And then those things that it's, maybe don't need to necessarily be done this week, fill those in. And then just making sure, knowing when I pick up my kids from school, it's basically, I can do some tasks and things like that, knowing what those are, but being able to, get them dinner, get them to their sports events. My husband gets home, and making sure we have that time, making sure when the kids go to bed, that's my husband and I's best time, because their kids are in bed and we actually can talk and things like that. So we're good about making sure we have that time together. Cause that's been huge for us and so important. It's relaxing for both of us too, but making sure we can just get through what we need to get through in order, keep our personal lives going the way that we want them to go. But yeah, organization is definitely the key in making sure I'm there for the kids when they need me, there for my husband when he needs me. Obviously, there's flexibility within all of that, and doesn't always work out perfect, but we try our best and know that the next day will be better. Learn from
it's like a constant, because we just kind of did this with our calendar and stuff. And one of the things that we do at the end of the year is like really audit everything. So like we go through like what does our daily schedule look like? When are you working out? Like who's picking up what human at the end of it? Like
what time?
Stuff. Like, when are we going to go on a date? Like like all of these things. And I think what's difficult about it is like, it's like a continuous process of like checking in to see how things are going, because every day is just like, and it's hard. It's not easy to kind of like navigate all of those things at like a high level. And a lot of times each of those priorities are competing with each other, right? Like,
oh yeah.
So it's hard to like, it's just hard to do that on a daily basis. But I love that what you said about like making sure that the things that need the most attention, like you schedule those first, like that's your top priority. And then you kind of go from there.
And do you do that? Like at a specific time on like a Sunday or a Saturday? Like, do you look at your schedule for the next week, or is it more of a daily thing where you look at your calendar like the day before, or are you just always in it?
I'm just kind of always in it. I do it, a lot of it like over the weekend. I'll look and just kind of find the time. Okay, this week coming up, I have nothing scheduled here, and here. That's when I'm going to really knock out those tasks. And I have those tasks kind of written out of what needs to be done. And then I have the other tasks kind of on a separate list of, get this done, but it's not really as time. So I kind of do it like a weekly basis, just kind of through the weekend looking, and then daily. I mean, knowing, because things come up and pop up, or you have somebody that wants to go see a house or something like that you weren't quite planning on. So being able to be a little bit flexible, and we're lucky enough, we have both grandparents here that, depending on the day and time, that they can they can usually jump in. So that is a huge help, and kind of allows us to be able to do what we do. So that's a bonus. But yeah, daily, weekly, I'm constantly in the calendar trying to figure out what needs to be done and where I can fit it in.
If I lost my calendar, like, do you know how devastating that would be to me? Like, this is like so dorky.
It's so bad. I know. It's yeah.
It's like,
go ahead.
It's literally my life. Like one time a few years ago, I basically have a to-do list on my phone, just in my notes of like random things that pop in my head of just, it's
all the
so
time.
all the time. And so in order to just keep a lot of brain space, I just dump it on my to-do list and it just stays there. Well, and then I'll go in and put them in my calendar like every week, like if there's things or whatever. So one time I think my phone broke or something. I don't even know.
You lost it. You
I
deleted
lost
it. Yeah.
And it was like devastating. Like I literally was like,
Yeah, you were devastated. Yeah.
I feel that. I feel that. I have my paper planner and my husband thinks it's ridiculous because he's like, you have a phone. I'm like, no, I have to have my paper. And I'm like, I'll just brain dump. Like I have like this running brain dump of a list and some of it's dumb, like buy dishwasher detergent, like just the dumb things that like you would think they're really obvious.
It would be like buy dishwasher detergent, and then the next thing is like create my will, or like totally like it doesn't even make sense to anybody.
No, hold on though. Like, and I get that, and I do this too, but like sometimes I struggle with that. Like if I have a to-do list, which I do, but it stresses me out to look at it sometimes, and it always makes me feel like I'm like so far behind. Do you struggle with that at all, or are you just like, hey, I know I'm going to get to this stuff? Do you feel like it makes you more stressed out or less stressed out by brain dumping all that stuff?
I think there's times where I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to get to that? And you feel that anxiety and you just feel overwhelmed by it all.
Yeah.
And you feel like, a lot of the tasks kind of might take a little bit longer too. So then you feel like you're not getting to anything else. So there are definitely times where I'm like, this is too overwhelming, and you just almost freeze. And then there's other times where it just feels so good. It's just like, okay, I'll put that stuff down. I know I'll get there eventually. It's minor. So sometimes when those tasks I think are a little bit more important and weigh on you a little bit more, or they kind of take longer, that's when it's like, oh, okay, that anxiety and that pressure. And yeah, definitely.
I wish I had access to your to-do list. Can I get access?
You do. It's on a joint. I'll show it to you. You're good. Actually, I don't want you on it because then you'll add to it. And then
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, I don't want anything additional. Yeah, I want nothing additional.
My favorite thing to do, Miranda, is at like 6:30 in the morning. Andrew will be like making the kids breakfast, and so they're all in the kitchen. And I'll be sitting at my computer, just like rapid firing emails.
And I'll like look at my phone and it'll be like 10 new emails. And I'm just like, what is that? It's not fun.
It's like a surprise in the morning. Like,
here's what you need to do today.
Yeah. Just great times. Are you a routine person?
Yeah.
Are you like morning routine? Do you have a morning routine set up?
It's fine. I'm pretty routine, but then I'm also pretty like it's not very set in stone. Like I typically work out in the morning before the kids are awake. But then after that, it's just kind of more of like if I have time for myself to get ready before the kids are awake, and then other times I don't. So I'm not super set in my routine, which is kind of strange for how like I've time manage and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm not a very good set routine person.
Yeah.
I feel like though part of it, and because we used to do like a million things in the morning, and we just can't by nature of like how our kids like we're up late with kid activities, and then and so like we've really talked about like the number one thing that we have to get done is we have to work out. Like that's actually the one thing that like if that doesn't happen, it's like a problem,
Yeah.
You can feel it. Yeah, you can feel the difference for sure. Those endorphins are huge.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like there's some days I'm like, okay, I get it, workout and shower in before the kids are awake, and then there's other days I'm like, it didn't happen, but I got the workout in, so it's fine. I'll fix it or whatever.
I haven't showered in 3 days.
Babe.
Okay. Just kidding.
On that note, just kidding. Before we let you go, so like what's on the horizon for you? Like we're at the beginning of a new year now. Like what do you see in 2025? I mean, it doesn't have to be specific goals, but like what are you kind of working on?
I'm really excited because back in July, I got introduced to an agent and joined LPT. And so kind of with that, she is marketing, social media. I mean, she's amazing with all that stuff. So learning from her over the last 6 months has been a lot of fun, but I finally, I have a website now. So I'm just really excited to keep growing on that and learning from her. It's like this web of her website ties into her social media, which ties into, her CRM, which ties into everything that she's doing. And she's getting these amazing leads from it all. And so I'm just excited to kind of keep growing off of that stuff that she's been teaching me. So it'll be another fun year, I think, just expanding and growing that side of my business, which I don't want to say I've neglected, but that's the hard stuff in this business is websites and social media. And I don't want to say they're boring tasks, but it's not as fun as going to show houses and listing appointments and things like that. So growing that side of my business it's going to be fun this year. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, where can our listeners find you?
So I have Facebook and Instagram and then on my website.
And I'm actually looking at your website right now. Very nice, very well set up. I see there's a place where I can click to send you a message if I want to. So yeah, that looks awesome. So yeah, to our listeners, check out Miranda. Miranda, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. This has been fun.
All right, everyone. Have a great day and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.